No mai haere mai ki tēnei hui o te kaunihero o ngā roto o Rotorua. Welcome everyone to this meeting. Just a reminder that it is being live streamed. We welcome those who are joining us online and also our local media. Before we get underway, I'd like to invite Councillor Barker to open us up with the karakia.
Thank you, Your Worship. Let us pray. Tūtawa mai runga, tūtawa mai raro, tūtawa mai roto, tūtawa mai waho. Kia tau ai te Māoritū, te Māori ora ki te katoa, haumie, huie, tae ki e.
Ngā mihi nui ki a koe, Councillor Barker. We don't have any apologies for today. Nope. Any declarations of interest? And I haven't been made aware of any urgent items. Are there any minor matters to be raised? No. I will just note that I have received a letter from Rotorua Lakes Trust that I will just table in the confidential section for us to consider, which is a potential variation to the deed with the Rotorua Lakes Strategy Group. It is only in principle at the moment, and then depending how that progresses, we'll bring forward any decision or changes at a future council meeting and update on that. So, checking there are no other minor matters. So we will move to the first item, confirmation of the minutes. This was for the 10th of December. Asking for a mover and a seconder for those. Yep, that's moved by Councillor Timara Benfell, a seconder, seconded by Councillor Kai Fong. I will just note there was an action point in those minutes that is still outstanding with getting back to our previous public forum speaker. There is still some work underway and expect that maybe to be a week or two away, so we'll bring any update to councillors through email as soon as possible. So if there's no further corrections, I'll put that to the vote that they are true and correct. All those in favour, please say aye. Any against? That's carried. Thank you. Don't have any public forum requests today, so we'll move straight to our staff reports. And we are starting with the Bay of Plenty Mayoral Forum Triennial Agreement for 2025-2028. Can I please first of all have a mover and a seconder that's received? That's moved by Councillor Barker, seconded by Councillor Brown. All those in favour to receive, please say aye. Any against? That's carried. I'll just provide a brief overview of this report, and the recommendations that we are seeking is that the Council endorse the agreement. This is very stock standard, and I do just want to note that we are also in the Waikato region, but the Waikato Mayoral Forum is still yet to meet. I think they're doing that on the 2nd of March, and then that will come to us. Interestingly though, the Local Government Act does require, after each triennial election, that no later than the 1st of March, we will enter into the agreement, so that one's just tracking a bit late, but that is why this has come forward to this meeting. Do, in the recommendation, also note that the proposed approach to roll over the existing protocol for Bay of Plenty RMA policy and plans, with any necessary updates to be made to the protocol documental process once the RMA reforms have been confirmed and are in force. So I will just take the agreement as read and ask if there are any questions. Nope. And obviously we will see what happens with upcoming government reforms, and there is the next meeting of the Bay of Plenty Mayoral Forum on the 12th of March as well. So may I please have a mover and seconder? If there's no questions, thanks. It's moved by Councillor Wang, seconded by Councillor Sanford. Open for any discussion if there is any. No, thank you. This is really just a procedural matter, so I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? And that is carried. We now move to the business case for my attendance, Mayor's attendance, at the Kiwi North China Roadshow in March. We do have a number of attachments to that as well, including some very lovely letters of support that had come about the benefit from some of our tourism operators prior. We do currently have 19 tourism operators that have confirmed their attendance at this, and this is on the back of what was a very successful Rotorua Roadshow back into the China market. I do want to acknowledge, though, and as part of this report, the economic benefits that come from this. And also, in my experience being over in China at last year's roadshow, it was very evident how present the South Island has been. And since then, Rotorua and Z have been fantastic leaders in rallying our North Island tourism agencies and regional tourism operators and economic development agencies, and it's been a really awesome collaboration of about 16 of them to create the Kiwi North Partnership. And through the Kiwi North Partnership was also some significant funding that came from government, 2 million of which was specifically for international visitors. And our China market is a very strategic market to be targeting, given that they are quite significant spenders when they get here, one of the highest spending. I think American, especially North America, are the only ones that compete with them, but it's usually estimated about $6,000 per visitor spend. So there's a bit of detail in the report, and I'll just open up now if there are any questions regarding it. Oh, sorry, I will ask for a mover and a second to receive it first, so we can do that. Thanks, that was moved by Councillor Maxwell, seconded by Councillor Lee. Open for any questions? No. And, yep, Councillor Maxwell.
I think, aroha mai. I think we Rotorua benefits from that, but the important part is I'm glad it's noted in here on page 29 at the top that we do have a pūtea that is for the international delegations that come through and come to our council, and we have $48,000 in the pūtea there, so this helps in the cost of these kind of wonderful opportunities that do come up now and again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I do want to acknowledge that both Councillor Maxwell and Councillor Wang are very valuable helpers that when we host the international delegations. Certainly Councillor Maxwell with his previous international experience, and that is quite a unique way. Actually, I'm not aware of any other councils that, we are the most active council in hosting international delegations, but due to us also charging a fee to do so, it helps to offset the cost because we're very mindful of that for ratepayers. Thank you. Councillor Sanford.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I just had one question, just for clarification. The 22 tourism operators, are they across the entire Kiwi North area, or is that just in Rotorua?
Thank you, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
So the focus for this trip has been Rotorua, Auckland, and also Wellington. Tātaki Auckland, which is the Rotorua NZ equivalent, joined us last time, and we did have Weta Workshop that is based in Wellington join us last time. This is now being broadened. It is capped at how many people can come, just from a logistics perspective, but yes, it will just be those 3 destinations. And if I can further clarify, the reason for that as well is due to the airports that the international airports that both Auckland and Wellington have as gateways for our tourists. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I can't see this being a problem, given that 29%, I believe, increase in Chinese visitors in December of last year on the year before. So it's great that we're taking advantage. I suppose they are enjoying the benefits of the NZETA. Just wondering, looking further down the track, is there any thought to conducting this type of adventure into India?
Thank you for asking, and we do acknowledge the free trade agreement that our Minister of Trade and local MP has negotiated. There is no plans for India from council participation. However, Rotorua NZ are aware that they are a key market, and I do also want to note that from Rotorua's perspective, the international students will be a key focus as opposed to visitors as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good question. Any further questions? No? Okay. Well, I will read out the recommendations. That Council approve the cost of travel and accommodation for Mayor Tapsell to attend the Kiwi North China Roadshow, valued at $4,550. That Council note income generated by international delegates visiting the Rotorua Lakes Council is used to subsidise this travel, so there is no direct cost to ratepayers. Somebody happy to move and second that? Thank you. Moved by Councillor Wang, seconded by Councillor Brown. We are open for discussion if there is any. Yep, Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to wish you all the best of success in trying to persuade some of our Chinese people to hop in and see Rotorua before they slide off to the South Island. You know, looking at the statistics is pretty alarming going back to 2019. We're tracking at 1% of the market share of Rotorua, down from a 3.5% or something. There's a lot of Chinese people just going straight to the South Island, and wish you all the best in wooing them back to the beautiful North Island, and Rotorua in particular.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lee. And I will just pass on some feedback that I've had recently from some of our tourism operators. One that attended the last roadshow almost immediately after had bookings of 19 buses from the China market. And I've also heard great feedback from our local Chinese restaurants and who are involved with hospitality, that they have been completely full this summer as well. So at times having to turn other customers away because they're booked in peak time. So it's fantastic to see the benefit of that already. We do want to acknowledge the work of Rotorua NZ in identifying that the China market was one of the few that hadn't returned to their pre-COVID levels. Councillor Rokawate.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm pleased to see this on the agenda, and I have no hesitation in supporting it, Your Worship. We do want our visitor numbers back to pre-COVID, and also there's nobody who is more skilled in advocating for our city than the leader of the city. So I'm pleased to see this. I'd like to see you away at least twice a year. You must be travelling steerage, because 4,500 is not a big amount. But it really is important that our profile continues to be raised, and I wouldn't overlook North America either. But no, I do support this, and know that you'll do us well over there. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Councillor Timothy Benfell.
Tēnā koe, Your Worship, and through you, also just wanted to acknowledge the scope of, I think the message that this sends is it's important that Council is also doing its part as well to create a vibrant city here in Rotorua. We don't just leave it to our CCOs and our operators and our businesses, that we've actually got skin in the game to actually support directly through Council and through councillors and the Mayor opportunities like this to make our city vibrant, because I know our people here are yearning to host more manuhiri, like the famous days of old in Koro Trevor's time. So I think this is a really important kaupapa, and also just echo the points of Whai Meripeka as well. Great that it's been done on a very economic, very cost savings manner as well. There's no first class flights I can see in there, so very positive for us in our council, I think.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, well, before I put that to the vote, I do just want to acknowledge and thank the Council for their support for this and the comments that have been made. It's fantastic that not only has reinvigorating our economy been a priority for us, but we also are backing our tourism and hospitality industry. That is the biggest employer in our district. So that has been moved and seconded. I'll now put that to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Any against? That's carried. Thank you very much. We now move to submissions to central government. Now, there was quite a few attachments in this, and thank you very much to councillors for your feedback, in particular to the simplified local government proposal, which is the one that we are seeking to approve. And we do note that there are the other submissions to Emergency Management Bill and also the Natural Environment Planning Bill. Can I please have a mover and a seconder to receive this? It's moved by Councillor Barker, seconded by Councillor Timothy Benfell. All those in favour just to receive, please say aye. Any against? That's carried. And I'd now like to invite Greg to overview this report.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, Morena councillors. I think just briefly, the central government have outlined a suite of proposals for the last sort of 24 months, and these have been coming before you gradually as they have been released as proposals from central government. These reform packages have covered a range of topics that impact us as local governments. So that would be funding and revenue, resource management, emergency management, governance arrangements, building compliance, and water services. As the Mayor mentioned, what's in front of you today is the Simplifying Local Government proposal submission. The draft submission is there for you to adopt this morning. And the emergency management has already been lodged by Eastern Bay of Plenty Emergency Management, as well as the Natural Environment Bill and the Planning Bill. So that has been lodged as well last week. So bringing that in front of you this morning just to discuss the Simplifying Local Government. Thank you.
Thank you. So we do open now for any questions. Yep, Councillor Barker.
Thank you, Worship. Just on the Simplifying Local Government submission, I note all the points that we've made and agree with those. Just one additional one that is unique to Rotorua and hasn't been captured in this submission, and I wondered if it's a potential to add it, is the cross-boundary issues that we experience in our district, with half of our district being in the Waikato Regional Council. And the DIA has suggested that there's 7 councils that fall into this category, and we have 3,900 people who live in the Waikato region. When it comes to voting on the CTB, there is a chance that one of the options is that we are represented, or the southern half of our district is represented by the mayor from a different council, which I don't think is an appropriate way for our voice to be heard. The other option in the DIA document is that we have a representative from our council on the other CTB, not just the Bay of Plenty Aboriginal one. So either way, however we submit on this issue, I think it's of importance to the lower half of our district, and wonder if we can submit to the effect that we would like to have a voice around both tables of the councils or regions that we straddle as a district, if that's possible.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Barker. And just having a quick look at the submission, I'm wondering if in point 2, local decision making should be undertaken by the communities that are impacted by the proposed changes. I wonder if in there may be the most appropriate, or if you want just a separate paragraph noting that.
No, that's probably the appropriate place. It's I know the Local Government New Zealand submission just makes reference to the fact that each district that is affected should be able to have some say in how that happens for them, and I just want us to make sure that if the opportunity arises, that we can have an opportunity to have a say. So I don't mind where it lands, as long as if everyone's comfortable with that to be included.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that very much. And so Greg has pointed out to me that in part 3 it is lightly mentioned in there, but what I suggest is if we're happy, we'll just note that minor amendments, with minor amendments, and then we'll email out to all of the council just a track change version that. Because remind me how many people in there? It's like
3,900.
Yeah, 3,900, and we'll put that figure in there as well, and just acknowledge it as the largest.
Thank you. I do see it there, and yeah, that's just we are quite different to the other councils across the country. Yeah, that's why. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we'll just note minor amendments in this and carry on with the discussion. Are there any other questions? Councillor Lee?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd just like to signal that I'd be happy to move an amendment to remove the reference to the representation reviews becoming optional for this term. That's a pill that I can't swallow, I'm afraid, especially for our rural voters, and I'm happy to go into that at the appropriate time. That would require me to have a seconder. So,
yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Do you wish to second that or a question? Okay. Sorry, Councillor, there appears to be no seconder to that. However, I will note, so apologies, we won't take that specific amendment, but I will note that that word optional is deliberate, and if the proposal, whatever the Simplify Local Government lands with, at least if they take on board our feedback, which they may not, it's a submission, that it's optional for councils to then, that councils will have to make a council decision on whether or not to do a representation review. So you may just get your chance to argue your case in the near future. We shall see. Thank you. Councillor Sanford.
Thank you, Your Worship. These are quite minor points really, but I thought I'd just raise them. Just in terms of, we cite reform packages, and I just thought for clarity it might be better if we actually listed after the reform packages exactly what that encompasses, because for some readers that might not be obvious what the full reform package is that we're referring to. So that would be the Emergency Management, Water Services, National Environmental Bill and the Planning Bill, because I think when you list it then it suddenly looks like a bigger picture. The other bit that I was just going to mention was, again, just asking that there's clarity that this isn't going to override existing DIA processes that are in place at the moment. That's in addition to those things.
Thank you. I might just get the Chief Executive to respond to that, but thank you very much for raising that.
Thank you, Worship. Councillor Sanford, we can take that on board as the minor amendments that will be made and included in the draft. That last point, I believe we've made it, but we'll double check and make sure it's strengthened to be clear that our submission is that any existing, if I understand you correctly, any existing provisions in the Local Government Act, Schedule 3, around reorganisation are preserved for councils that want to pursue that. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for further clarity, just noting that minor amendments does not change the intention or the direction of the submission. It just helps to clarify it, which I believe what has been raised does. Thank you. Okay. Oh, sorry, Councillor Timothy Benfa.
I wonder if in part 3 we do support Crown or local Crown appointed representation as a contributor to combined territorial board, but prefer local democratically elected representatives having voting powers. I wonder if there's an opportunity to use a little bit stronger language than sort of prefer. It's more of a I wonder if that's something, a minor amendment that can just be thought about from staff. It's not so much as a preference, but more as this is what we want for our community. And I wonder, as a contributor, adding another, I don't know if it's advisory contributor or if we add some additional thoughts. I know in our workshop we discussed some options around that. I don't know if we came to a definitive answer on the nature of that, because I think we had differing views. But yeah, I just wonder, it just seems to be a bit, I just felt we were being quite polite in our in our submission, and I wonder if we just use stronger language just to make it make our point a bit clearer.
Thank you. Do appreciate that, and perhaps if it aligns with what you're thinking, right in front of the word contributor, it's advisor contributor, and then perhaps instead of prefer, the Chief Executive said insist. Next year, I think that's a lot more direct. Am I still being polite enough? Okay, thank you. We'll make those changes as well. Okay, well, there appears to be no further questions. Thank you very much to elected members for your assistance in the submission. This submission will close on the 20th of February, and we hope to get an update from government as soon as possible, and are hopeful that they take on board some of the great suggestions that we've made on how this will work practically for not only Rotorua, but the diverse range of communities across our country. So I will ask now for a mover and a seconder. It's moved by Councillor Timothy Benfell, seconded by Councillor Sanford. I will just read out that slightly edited one at the bottom because it has changed, that Council approves the Council submission on the Simplify Local Government proposal with minor amendments.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I thought that we were going to handle those separately, but okay. Can we handle them separately? The two council submissions?
That is okay. Perhaps we'll just take point 4 alone by itself, and then we will take point 2 and 3 by itself as well. So, only putting, actually, wait. Oh, thank you. So just point 4, we have a mover and a seconder. Well, I asked, is there any discussion on the Simplify Local Government proposal alone? Yep. Councillor Timothy Benfeld.
Just to add, more for the benefit of the public, because they may not, it could be because they weren't present in workshops, but the opinion and something that we all agreed on as a council is that our local voice and the voice of our community is of the utmost importance. And through these submissions, this council is making it clear that our people here in our community need to be leading the development and protection of our community. So that's something that all of us were able to come to an agreement on. And I think that's really important for our people in our community to know that we are here advocating them despite the sheer amount of reforms that are coming our way and their way. So that's just a point I wanted to add for the minutes.
Thank you. Point well made. Councillor Lee.
So we're talking about the simplifying local government proposal.
Yep, and then I'll ask for a mover and a seconder for point 2 and 3, and then we're open for discussion on that.
Sure. So I understand the Code of Conduct was part of the Simplifying Local Government proposal. And
I don't recall seeing that in there.
And that the Local Government Commission suggested Code of Conduct is pretty nasty. It resembles the 2019 Code of Conduct adopted by this council, which didn't work out well, with that particular Code of Conduct being weaponised against one particular councillor, opening up complaints to the public, to council staff and so forth. I was wondering whether we could find a way to express our concerns or oppose that particular code of conduct which they're wanting to standardise across all councils.
We're pretty sure it's that what you're referencing is in the Systems Amendment Bill, which was the one that also looked at the
performance measures.
Yeah, right.
The standing orders, performance measures, the well-beings.
And that submission's closed a couple of weeks ago, I think, on
That's
that.
correct,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, there appears to be no further comments, so we will put the Simplify Local Government proposal with minor amendments to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Any against? That's carried. And I will just ask that staff, when we do hear any feedback from government on what they choose based on all the submissions they received from around the country, that we get an update just circulated by email as soon as possible to councillors. So now...
Sorry, could my vote against be recorded?
Sorry.
I think the rural voters have suffered for the last 2 terms. They were never consulted on whether or not to have a rural ward. And they've been promised that there would be a representation review this term. And so I think it was a great surprise to many rural voters that they would only have 1 vote. And I'm disappointed on their behalf that they would potentially have to miss out again at the next election by having only 1 vote. So I'll have to pass on supporting that particular bill for that reason.
We will note your vote against, and currently the plan is to still undertake a representation review, and if the government takes on board submissions and, the suggestions in our submissions, then potentially that could be optional for us, but there will be a representation review according to, well, as currently planned. So thank you, and do acknowledge Councillor Barker for ensuring that the rural community is specifically noted in this submission. So we will now just take the other submission separately. Two, the external submissions on Emergency Management Bill and also Natural Environment Bill and Planning Bill. I will just ask for a mover, seconder, and then we'll open for discussion on this one. It's moved by Councillor Barker, seconded by Councillor Kai Fong, and we are now open for discussion. If there is any. Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have a problem with submission 9 of this particular bill. The planning bill limits the effects that decision makers may consider, requiring them to disregard a number of significant environmental, social and amenity effects, including visual amenity, landscape effects, precedent effects, views from private property, retail distribution and competitive effects, internal site layout and social and economic status of future residents. I think that particular submission goes to the heart of what the coalition government is attempting to achieve with the whole repeal of the Resource Management Act, which has created all of these obstacles for developers. And many of these measures are very subjective and arguably adjudicated rather arbitrarily, and I think that's the reason why the coalition government has essentially lost confidence in the council to make these sorts of calls. The essence is that since the Resource Management Act was brought in the early 1990s, it has made life extremely difficult for developers, such that some would say that they are being held to ransom. I had the pleasure of attending Jimmy Carr, the comedian who came to Rotorua a couple of weeks ago at the Sir Howard Morrison Centre, and he actually touched on this very topic. And he joked that hopping on Air New Zealand was like hopping in a time machine, and that New Zealand is stuck in the 1970s.
Point of order, Madam Chair. Relevance, please.
Well, the relevance is that we're stuck in a time machine.
Point of order. But if you could just get to the point
Sure.
regarding the bill, the submission to the bill that has already been lodged.
Yes. Well, I think this particular submission shows that this council is a wee bit out of step with what the coalition government is actually trying to achieve here. What they're wanting to achieve is making life a lot easier for developers so that the city is able to go forward in leaps and bounds, and that would seem to undermine exactly what the government's trying to achieve. So I find that rather difficult to support. If there was a seconder, I'd be happy to move that be amended or taken out.
Apologies, it has already been moved and seconded,
Okay.
but there was the opportunity for individuals or anyone to make a submission to it as well, which would have been the most appropriate time and place for you to share your personal opinion on that. And so I do just want to check if there are any other discussion points on this, and also noting that it's not just this current government. This has been in the making for many years to come, far too long actually, and is surprisingly supported by all parties as well. There is no doubt that the previous RMA needed to be reformed, and our council has consistently been acknowledged for the work that's been undertaken in such initiatives as the Future Development Strategy, and of course the significant amount of development that we've seen in the past few years due to great planning, leadership and insight that came from this council. Councillor Barker.
Thank you, Bishop. I'd just like to address item 9 again with regards to how this submission has been put together. And I believe it actually notes the fact that limiting the assessment of effects actually has on-flowing effects that have unintended consequences. And This is an attempt by our staff to acknowledge the fact that there is very little detail in some of this bill, and they have alluded to that further on in the submission around the timing, and also the fact that there is no definition of what a highly functioning or good rural or urban environment looks like. And so when you limit the ability for people to actually have a conversation about certain unique cultural heritage or environmental factors when it comes to development, then you risk impairing or damaging or altering the unique environments that we have. So I think the submission, that was the intent of this. There is no reason why we'd want to slow things down in our development, but it also needs to be done with care, and I think that's what this alludes to. I just want to thank the staff for putting this together, and the workshop that we had last week was very informative on why it was put together this way. I note that also they noted some timing concerns around other legislation that's going through, which is making it very difficult to actually see how all the pieces are going to fit together and how we're going to, as a council, continue to operate while looking forward to this new piece of legislation possibly coming in. So I support this, as I've moved, I support this submission, and thank the staff very much for the time and effort that went into looking at all the possible on-flow effects, even though the detail was in many cases was missing. So thank you.
Thank you, and it is good that the submission addresses the potential cost implications to councils and also the timing issues with implementing the new legislation. Thank you. I will put that to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Any against? Do you want that noted? Yep. That is carried. Okay, we will move to our financial update for December. I'd like to invite David Jensen and Michelle Overbeek to overview this report, and they also have a presentation that will come up. Can I please have a mover and a seconder to receive this report? Thanks. That was moved by Councillor Timothy Benfell, seconded by Councillor Brown. This is the financial update for December 2025. All those in favour, please say aye. Any against? That's carried.
Good morning, Your Worship and elected members. Quickly before I get into the presentation, there are two matters I'd like to discuss really quickly before that have occurred since this report was written. Firstly, regarding Council's credit rating. So every year, Council engages with Fitch to review Council's credit rating, and I guess the basis of that rating determines the price at which we can borrow from the local government funding agency, and it's a bit of a bellwether for Council's wider financial settings. A little bit of coming off the backdrop of last year, where 18 councils were downgraded as the rating agencies changed their risk profile for New Zealand councils. So I'm happy that Fitch have reaffirmed our rating at AA- with a stable outlook, so unchanged from last year. There are a number of underlying metrics where we actually improved on previous years, and a good result for our council, just securing the rate at which we can borrow from the LGFA going forward. Secondly, just regarding the finalisation of matters with Infracore Limited, so we have taken some legal advice and we're in the process of liquidating the Infracore Limited company, just to make sure that the entity is no longer on our books at the end of the financial year, and just enables us to finalise any legal liabilities that may be lurking, or finalising even the software that we may have had on our books and still paying for, because we still had Infracore on our books, just tidying things up there. So that has taken place. So into the presentation. So this report covers the financial performance for the first 6 months of the financial year, so up to the end of December. You'll see that the income again is behind budget, predominantly through to capital revenue with IIG subsidies and from development contributions. So If we take away the capital subsidies and the development contributions, we are positive by 2.8 million, but that capital revenue is becoming a drag on our performance to budget. Our expenditure is a little over budget as well, under budget, sorry. And that's driven by, I guess, we haven't spent the money on capital projects. We have lower interest expense, and there are some other areas with staffing being under budget as well, just with some vacancies that have not been filled. At the end of December, Council was $32.9 million behind the capital program. So I will talk a little bit about this in a slide that's coming up, but we will not be delivering our full capital program this financial year. In fact, in previous years, we've trended sort of 70 to 80% of delivery. We're working on a forecast for how we will likely be at the end of the year, but signalling early that we will be behind on our capital program. Just especially with the delays getting the variation for IAG stormwater signed by the central government, that's really becoming a drag on the achievement of that program. And council's net debt at the end of December was 473 million. I'll talk a little about that on the next slide. So looking where we expect our debt to be at the end of this financial year, where the planes will land on the runway. So when we set our annual plan for this year, we had budgeted debt of 532 million. We're currently at 473 million, and we are expecting to be at 510 million at the end of this financial year. A number of reasons for that. The slower capital delivery is bringing our net down, but also the capital subsidies and the slower development contribution, trending things in the opposite direction. But we are looking to be under budget. Our debt will be under budget at the end of this financial year, and we'll see the benefits of that coming through in next year's annual plan. Just quickly regarding our council's operating position. So once we take away the impact of those lower capital subsidies and those lower development contributions, we have an operating surplus of nearly 4 million. That's made up of predominantly two things. It's made up of the larger than anticipated number of ratepayers in Rotorua who have paid the rates by lump sum, and also the lower interest on our debt as we have lower the delivery of our capital program and lower drawdown of that borrowing. So I guess the impact of more people in Rotorua paying by lump sum will be with us at year end. We're just working through the forecast on how the rest of the capital program will occur for the remainder of the financial year, as to whether or not we will catch up with that borrowing and catch up with that interest expense as well. So we are currently forecasting a small operating surplus at the end of the year, and we're working through forecasts with the business on how that will land. Lastly, with our capital program, I do want to draw your attention to there's a graph on page 40 of your agenda that shows the achievement of the capital program by, class of expenditure. So when we talk about our expenditure, our capital expenditure, we separate it out into three buckets essentially: level of service, renewal, and growth. And when we talk about growth, we're predominantly talking there about the IAG stormwater, the stormwater project with central government. At this point, at the end of December, we had budgeted to spend 20 million of capex on that project, and at the end of December, we have actually spent 2 million. So while we have been promised verbally that variation will be signed by central government, and we're in the process of formalising that, that delay and achieving that and securing that variation being signed will have an impact on our achievement of our program for the full year. And you'll see there just a breakdown of where a lot of that capital expenditure has occurred in the business for the end of December. I'm happy to take questions on the report, the presentation or any of those two topics I raised earlier at the beginning of the presentation.
Thank you. And just acknowledging the significance of the Fitch rating, I might just ask our Chief Executive if he has any comments too.
Thank you, Worship. And often the lead gets buried in these things. Last week we reported on a heritage restoration project that was on time and on budget, and people forgot about it. Today we're talking about maintaining a credit rating with the significant financial pressures we've had all round, both as an organisation and as a sector. And to maintain that credit rating is actually an outstanding result. So just want to acknowledge, obviously, decisions made recently around this table around financial prudence, but also the ability to give our credit rating agencies confidence on our numbers and our books, which is a work undertaken by the finance team. They've obviously undertaken a number of technology upgrades that enable us to have better clarity and visibility over budgets and futures, and so all of that contributes to that work. So I just want to acknowledge both the decision making and the work of the team.
Thank you. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, thank you for your report. David, can you go back to the slide just before this one, please? Yes, that's the one. So the actual for stormwater land drain 3334 and the variance nearly 15.5 million. Is that what you're referring to in the agenda where it says financial and development no, sorry, that's not it. Capital subsidies and grants are 19.1 behind year-to-date budget. Is that part of that amount?
Through the Chair, that's correct. So that amount shown for stormwater land drainage will be growth and renewals and level of service all lumped into one for that activity. So IAG forms the lion's share of that. The nature of how the arrangement works is that we do the work and then we are refunded after. So because we haven't had the agreement in place, we haven't been able to do the work, which is shown there, and which also means we haven't been able to receive that capital revenue afterwards.
So that would be the lion's share. I think you referred to the slowness of the changing of our application on the NIF funding with Utahina and West 07 transferring funds, etc. That's
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rokawate, followed by Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, may I have two questions, actually. Just wonder if you could help me understand when you said that there will be no full capital spend this year. I think that's what I heard you say. So is that then spread across the three buckets where you're going to not spend, or is it just from one bucket specifically?
Through the Chair, there will be varying degrees across the three buckets. The level of service, we will be a lot closer. The level of service spend, and then we're looking at projects like the museum where we are bang on budget. We are tracking very well. Renewals, we traditionally do around 80%, but signaling early that the growth component will be significantly behind. So usually we achieve about 70 to 80% of a full program. That will hold true for level of service and renewal, but for growth it will be significantly behind.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to ask a question around Infracore, and I think you were saying sort of a wrap-up, and that's been completed in terms of legal obligations. Does that also include any, perhaps, tax compliance issues that may come about when an organisation is being wrapped up?
Through the Chair, that is correct. That's a significant reason for the delay. Infracore, the functions of Infracore have been within RRC for a period now. It has taken some time to work through with our tax advisors and with our legal advisors to make sure that those other issues are satisfied.
Thank you. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Your Worship. David, the CEO and yourself have talked about the Fitch rating. I assume that Fitch is looking ahead and likes where we're heading. you've said that. Are they making any assumptions around the proposed rates capping, and will that have an effect on our potential rates and our measure?
Through the chair, it was certainly a topic we spent a lot of time talking about in the meeting. They are waiting to see how the legislation is formed before we can accurately measure the impact on us. So that there's a bit of water to go through the bridge before we can accurately model what the impact is once the legislation is visible. What we did, there are a range of regulatory reforms that will impact on council. Local water dam well being one. It has a range of implications depending on how council decides to deliver water services into the future, and things around rates capping and local and other potential reorganisation may change the matter, may change things as well. But until legislation is visible for some of those things, it's hard to accurately model what that might look like.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Timura Benfell, followed by Councillor Kaifong.
Kia ora, thank you, Your Worship. Sorry, just going back to the Tarawera Sewer Scheme, we've spoken on this topic a couple of times before. So, over what period were we expecting to receive those rates? Was it a 10-year, 30-year?
Through the chair, when we adopted the rate for Tarawera, we gave ratepayers two options. One is to pay by lump sum, and anyone who didn't wish to pay by lump sum could pay over a 25-year period. And so we made an allowance up front for, based on our experiences with previous schemes for what would occur. And so because more people have paid by lump sum up front, we're reducing our assumption for what we'll collect over the 25-year period.
So now that we've collected that effectively 25 years of income in a year, are we planning for the equitable distribution of that funding over that period, or are we investing that lump sum right now, or what are we doing with the lump sum that we've received?
Through the chair, the application of those funds goes towards repayment of debt. So when we put the scheme in, council front-loaded and bore the cost of implementing the scheme. So that debt exists on our books now, and basically because we are receiving more money, we are able to repay that debt more quickly.
Great, thank you very much for that. So just on your second point regarding the IIG, this isn't so much a question, but just something I think that may, for the public that are watching, may have got overlooked. I think your point around the variation with government is a really important one, and the delays that have been caused by that to our team. Something that's been, I think, a positive of councillors joining the working groups, steering groups, is that we're also able to see that our staff are getting quite ahead of the ball and preparing for things much earlier. For example, an earlier tendering process, earlier project plans and assessments. So that was just more of an acknowledgement to Stavros and his team, Dion and Aaron, but also reassuring the public that we're not sitting here twiddling our thumbs, that there is a little bit of planning happening and also a bit of front footing, so that when the government does decide to vary that, provide that variation, we're ready to go. So just wanted to add that as a comment on your presentation as well, David. Thank you.
And through your worship, since Councillor, you didn't really ask a question, I'm going to provide not really an answer. And just to let you know that that variation has now been approved. So we're working through the paperwork of executing it, but we have got written confirmation that it's been approved. So some of those breaks are off.
Thank you. Councillor Kaifong.
Thank you, Chair. David, on page 37 of the agenda, and I know this report is up to the 31st of December, you show that operating expenditure is currently under budget. Forward forecasts, are you anticipating for that to continue to the end of March and also to the end of the financial year at June?
Through the chair, there are, I guess there are a number of storm clouds that we are working through. So we know that there are some issues that the business is working through with some legal fees that will be arriving through January, particularly with the Rotorua Judicial Review and with so a number of other some contractual disputes that Council is working through, that we will be expecting some movement in operating expenses as a result of those legal fees in January. We are working through a organisational forecast across the business for where we expect things to land at the end of the financial year, and we hope we'll be able to bring that to the next council meeting, sort of signalling how that's going to trend. But that there are some, in terms of operating expenses, there are some things we know are coming, and we're working to ensure that we can operate within our financial envelope and still land where we need to for the end of the financial year.
Okay, and just on electricity, have we got a strategy, given that we've come off whatever it was, the hedging or the fixed rate, so that we don't end up paying spot prices, so that we end up with the big fluctuations in electricity costs?
Through the Chair, so that's correct. We are coming off a 5-year fixed term on our electricity pricing in November. We've started the tendering process already for that, and we're actively working with a range of providers for what the next steps will be. I think it's an increase in electricity pricing at some level will be unavoidable, but we are working with the business early, with the sector early, to make sure that we secure the best deal for the ratepayer when we sign that new contract.
Okay, and just one final question, just around the legal expenses. So, is it because people are not paying their dog fines or their parking infringements that we are required to take enforcement action, which requires us to front up with the legal fees in advance? So is that driving cost, which in some cases may take a very, very long time to recover if people are not able to pay their fines off straight away?
Through the Chair, when somebody decides not to pay their user fee or engage with our animal control team, it impacts us in two ways. So firstly, it lowers our revenue. People don't pay their user fee, and also increases our legal fees and operating expenses because we need to undertake that enforcement action. So it's a two-step process there. I guess what I was signaling earlier is that there are we do. That part is a part of our business as usual. What I was signaling earlier is that there are some larger legal fees related to significant projects that aren't ordinarily part of our core business that will be arriving through January.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. There appears to be no further questions. So we thank both Michelle and David very much for the update, and also the thanks to all of the team for maintaining such a good AA- Fitch rating. So we will move now to recovered water management solution, and now invite Stavros Michael up to receive the report. After this, we will do recommendations from other committees, which is noting the Rotorua Vision 2050 committee meeting, followed by confidential items to be released, and then we'll go into confidential. So can I please have a mover and a seconder to receive Recovered Water Management Solution Project Terms of Reference Update? Thank you. That's moved by Councillor Te Mirabenfau, seconded by Councillor Brown. All those in favour to receive, please say aye. Any against? That's carried. Thank you, Stavros.
Morena tatu katoa. Through you, Your Worship, and all elected members, good morning. Can I first introduce Stephanie Barker? I don't know if many of you have met Stephanie. Stephanie is our project manager for the project of managing the outcome for the recovered water. And I think it'd be good for elected members to have a face to the name. So we will discuss a little bit about where we are with the working group. As you're aware, we have two challenges with regards to our wastewater system. One is the full upgrade of our wastewater treatment plant. That upgrade is in full swing at the moment. At this point, we are roughly about 80% towards completion of the treatment upgrade. We expect that to be practically finished by September this year. So that challenge has got its technical complications, but working through that, and we expect that to be fully completed by September this year. In parallel with that, we have, as you are aware, the perennial discussion about what do we do with the recovered water after the wastewater has been fully treated at the new upgraded treatment plant. It is a challenging task too. At the moment, the recovered water from the current treatment plant is discharged to the Whakarewa forest through a land treatment system process that has been in place since the 1990s. And obviously, with the upgraded treatment plant, we do look for solutions for the newly upgraded treatment plant recovered water. You, as elected members, have agreed to support that search for a solution through the establishment of a working group, a community-led working group that comprises iwi and Manawhenua nominated experts in the panel. It comprises directly community representatives and comprises some elected members and obviously officers. I'm the sponsor of that working group, Mahi and Endeavour. When we did establish that working group back in mid last year, a set of terms of reference were adopted, considered and adopted by the Council. When the working group was established and started its work since October last year, they went through a number of objectives and expectations and the machination of the working group internal workings. And one of the considerations they gave was with terms of reference. So the working group now have progressed in a number of ways. We have spent a lot of time with the working group introducing them and provide them information about a wastewater system, the type of our wastewater, the treatment processes, the expected outcome of that upgraded treatment plant, and we fed them information about historical endeavors to find a permanent long-term solution for the recovered water. So the working group, as the project progressed, has looked into terms of reference, and now they suggested and recommend some minor changes with terms of reference. And as a matter of probity, it's quite important for elected members to be made fully aware of these minor changes. None of these changes substantially change the intent and objective of terms of reference, which is to guide the work of the working group. So these are mainly refinements and respond to feedback from the members of the working group and strengthen the clarity and consistency and overall governance process that's undertaken. Key improvements is the standardization of some terminology. For example, invariably the terms of reference refer to a steering group or recovered water management solutions working group. We now reduce it to a one standard definition, which is the working group. The terms of reference now confirm that the chair sets the meeting's intent and the outcomes, and they outline clear processes for members to propose agenda items or amendments or supporting efficient and transparent operation. Also, the working group considered under the terms of reference a new quorum clause that's been added to provide clarity on meeting validity and decision making, and to specify that at least 50% of the members must be present to make decisions and recommendations. By strengthening the working group's commitment to the Treaty of Waitangi was another theme. This updated terms of reference now include an explicit acknowledgement of treaty obligations and confirm that the group will meet the requirements under the Local Government Act and other relevant legislation. Just want to re-emphasize that local councils do not have treaty obligations. We have obligations arising and embedded in the Local Government Act, and the working group obviously wanted to make sure that those obligations, as manifested in the Local Government Act and our own partnership and relationship agreements, are highlighted in the terms of reference for the working group. Also, the terms of reference clarify the process for appointing subject matter experts, because the working group has been appointed and nominated to that position to represent skills and knowledge and expertise within the community, but there will be the need to employ and engage directly technical experts. For example, wastewater treatment plant process treatment, geothermal activity process treatment, lake water quality experts, geotechnical investigation, and so on. And also the process has been gratified, when we appoint subject matter experts to the technical advisory group, but also confirm that the Rotorua Lakes Council retains the full responsibility for formal appointments, and the working group may now recommend or nominate experts for consideration, ensuring its collective expertise is reflected in technical support. Finally, they updated, in terms of reference into the dispute resolution framework grounded in shared values and good faith, of transparency and respect for the tiganga and partnership commitments. So overall, the terms of reference provide, for clearer, more defined approaches to enable all the members of the working group to have comfort and confidence that, the MAHI and the tasks that they're undertaking are well governed by a set of terms of reference, and therefore by approving, nominating and recommending some changes, we're seeking this council's noting the changes. We see EES officers who don't see any material deviation from the intent of the terms of reference. However, as a matter of professional politeness and also as a matter of probity, we heard what the working group suggested. We conveyed it. We made adjustments in terms of reference, and now we inform you about these changes, and we are seeking your endorsement to these amended terms of reference. So thank you very much, and happy to take any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you for overviewing that, and great to have Stephanie, our Capital Delivery Manager, with us as well. Any questions? Councillor Lee?
Thank you, Your Worship. Have elected members been provided with a copy of the terms of reference, or have I overlooked that?
It is in Stella.
It's in here? Mm-hmm. It's in Stella. Under which one?
It's attached to the documents.
Right, it's in here.
Just while he's finding that, are there any other questions? Councillor Patterson.
Yeah.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, thank you, Stavros. Just the process going forward, so the working group, are they going to be taking the submissions that come from interested parties on this issue? Will they then be the ones who discount or accept the submissions, or who will do that?
Thank you, Councillor Patterson. Just to reiterate in brief, when elected members adopted the terms of reference or setting the working group, you also have adopted a methodology of evaluating possible solutions, what we call the multi-criteria assessment framework. That multi-criteria assessment framework will be applied to any proposed solutions, and in due process they will move from stage 1 to stage 2. And the expectation is that as we go through the sieving and screening analysis, the working group will arrive at A or 2 preferred solutions for recommendation to the council. Eventually, there will be exclusively the prerogative of this council to receive, consider, and adopt the recommended solution. An open session has been declared since early January with the public and anyone who's interested, and the submissions opportunity closes on the 16th of March. As we receive proposals, the working group will apply the multi-criteria assessment with support from officers, obviously, and eventually from a long list will come to a short list and a preferred option, but that will come back to the council through updates, regular updates, and eventually with a final recommendation.
Thank you for confirming that. So just one final question carrying on from that. Will the general public get to see all of those submissions if they attend those meetings? Will they be raised, all of them, or will some just be discounted out of hand?
I think it is our declared intention. We have on our website a project, item that describes the recovered water, talks about the background, the history, where we are now, the minutes, we will put in the minutes of the working group, and we also have a communications plan for that. Our intention, as agreed with the working group, that every suggestion will be tabulated and say, suggestion X, was received, a brief description of the proposal, and some brief commentary about each one of them, so the information is available to everyone who is interested to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kawate.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Stavros. Stavros, I presume that so far so good with working together on the working group. And I note that you did say that the amendments are pretty minor. And I've been listening to you, and I think, well, terms of reference really shouldn't be onerous. You should be able to work within, and they shouldn't constrict the flow of solutions and good ideas and that. And do you think with these amendments that is going to allow you to get to where you want to go with the working group? Because I was just wondering that when listening to you. So.
Thank you, Councillor Kawatai. Of course, that's our expectation. As I said, I think it's our intention as senior officers that when we work with a group of people who represent or nominated by the community, it's quite important to extend the respect to their views, considerations. We would not always agree to everything that's been said, but having terms of reference, it provides a framework, for behavior, an approach and decorum, within the working group, so everybody is aware of the envelope through which they work through that. Personally, I have every confidence that the majority of the people in the working group are well-intentioned, and they are constructive contributors to this, to this endeavor. No doubt there will be some disagreements, but having terms of reference, it helps navigate, a constrained and a contained environment to assist in that direction.
Thank you. Councillor, just checking, did you have a question? Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. So just, I got a question. I heard you acknowledge, I think for the first time I've heard in this chamber, that under the Local Government Act, councils don't have responsibility to take appropriate account of the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi. I'm quoting from Section 4 of the Local Government Act here. How can a committee that's formed under the Local Government Act have treaty obligations of its own?
So it is a committee. Oh, it's not a committee, Councillor Lee, it's a working group. But if Stavros wants to clarify, because that's not what I heard him say.
I thank you, Your Worship. Just to clarify, I am not a constitutional legal expert, obviously, but I know sufficient information to understand that the treaty obligations arise between Tangata Whenua and the Crown. However, these obligations permeate and flow through various forms of legislation, and in our case, the Local Government Acts, and various other pieces of legislation. This working group comprises representatives from iwi and Mana Whenua, and in the spirit of this Council's adopted position to nurture and reinforce relationships with Mana Whenua, obviously the treaty spirit, treaty of obligations, the spirit of those is permeating their approach, to our relationship. While at the technical level, the Council does not have direct, treaty obligations, nevertheless, it's our continuous endeavor to recognize the intent, of the treaty and our relationship, our obligations and undertakings we have made to ensure those kind of subject matters and those kind of relationship approach is embedded in the thinking of the working group. So the terms of reference actually needs to recognize the expectations of those representatives, and we continue to work through that process. So it's not a legal issue, it's a matter of us embedding what relationship protocols we already have in place.
Okay, so we're going beyond what the statutory requirement is. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe I'll try and help Stavros out here. Councillors, just to be clear that this is not a decision-making group, and so there are no additional councils not delegating any decision-making powers that it has under the Local Government Act to this group. This group will analyse solutions, discuss them, provide some insights, apply the framework that you have approved, and then come back to this council with recommendations for your decisions. At that point, councillors, as you know, you are free to apply whatever views you have to your decision-making process with advice that staff will provide, and then this council will make decisions based on this council's and these elected members' views.
But they do have voting rights.
Councillor, there are no decisions made by this working group. The ones with the voting rights are yourselves.
They'll be voting on the recommendations that they bring to us, though, will they not?
Councillor, how, in my view, my humble opinion, how a group forms recommendations is largely up to the group, and then you will have the opportunity to decide either on the merits of the recommendation or on whatever views you bring to the table, whether you accept or not their recommendations.
So just following on from Mayor Tapsell's comment prior to Stavros answering the last question, is this a committee established by council or not?
Councillor, through you, Your Worship, it is not a committee of council.
It's a working group, and if we can,
What's the legal status?
if I can bring you back to the relevance of these recommendations, we are only talking about the terms of reference, and there has actually been some great additions to that, and it focuses on things such as being clear this is the Recovered Water Management Solution Working Group, the purpose of the section, a new quorum clause, making sure that it meets all requirements under Local Government Act and any other legislation, having a dispute resolution framework, and basically the updated terms of reference provides a clearer, more consistent framework on which they can operate in. I do want to acknowledge that we have some significant expertise and knowledge on the working group. We're very fortunate to not only have community representatives, but people appointed from mana whenua. There are a number of people in there with doctorates, PhDs on very relevant topics to this, so I'm grateful that their expertise will come through. And also, for those who may not be aware, this is also independently chaired, and the chairperson was recently appointed, and that is Derek Shaw, whom we all know has made significant contributions to our community in the past as well. So we'll just ask if there are any final questions, and then we'll move on.
Were the members of that committee elected under the Local Electoral Act?
It's not a committee, Councillor Lee. We've resolved that.
We'll
move on now.
It was established by a decision of this committee. How can it not be a council committee?
It's not a committee, it's a working group.
Point of order, Your Worship, disorder.
What's the legal status?
Councillor Lee, you are being disorderly right now. I'll just ask if you could leave it there, and I'm happy to discuss this with you further afterwards. So I will ask for a mover and a seconder now for this. It's been moved by Councillor Temara Benfell, seconded by Councillor Wang. Any final discussion on this? I hope not. Put it to the vote. Okay, relevant discussion, please, Councillor Lee.
Yes, Madam Chair, I would just like to put on record why I am unable to support this.
As long as it's relevant to the terms of reference before us.
Yes, I voted against the establishment of this committee because it's inherently undemocratic, so it would be difficult to follow.
Point of order, Your Worship. Misrepresentation.
Thank you.
Misrepresentation to say that it's a committee when it's clearly been stated that it is a working group. It does not have voting rights.
Yeah, we'll take that point of order. Councillor Lee, we have been very clear with that. We will move on now. Is there any discussion from any other councillors? Nope. Thank you. And do want to thank the staff involved from both our side and also Baptenti Regional Council who have been assisting as well. We'll put that to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? That's carried. Yeah, just make sure you say it straight away. I'm being quite lenient. Just say it straight away and then we can put it on. So we will carry on. We have two final items, then we'll take a short break before we go into confidential We're on page 47 of our agenda now. This is recommendations from other committees, Rotorua Vision 2050 committee meeting. This is going back a bit. This is 26th of August 2025. So just to refresh people's memories from committees, committee meetings, any recommendations then are to come through council. I believe just due to timing of the election and our first council meeting for the year, this has just come forward to us now. So this has already been a decision that was decided at that committee meeting. But what I will do is just see if Greg wants to outline anything else in the report, and I'll ask for a mover and a seconder to receive it at this stage. Receive only.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, just to reiterate, this is procedural. This committee was set up as a non-decision-making committee, and so these recommendations always have to come back to council to be ratified or adopted, and that's what you have before you today.
And so the recommendation, is not receive, it endorses, that the committee endorses the approach outlined in this report. Actually, just for further clarity, maybe CEO, just check with you. These were the weightings that came through a council decision before going to the Rotorua Vision 2050. So apologies, it is a little bit of a loop where council already made this decision. It was then presented to the Rotorua Vision 2050, but under our processes, it's coming back to us.
I can't add anything more to that. That's
okay.
Exactly right. Thank you.
Well, I am happy to move. Is there a seconder for this? Thank you. We'll open up if there is any discussion on this. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Your Worship, for your indulgence. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend this particular hui due to my medical issues with my wife. I must say I'm quite just wondering if there's anyone there who can recall, were there any questions about the way the values were weighted from the Rotorua 2050 Vision Committee? I know it's a long time ago, it's a big stretch to remember that, but were there any questions?
Apologies, in the minutes we don't normally record the discussion or the questions, so I can't confirm that right now.
No one can remember? Ka-pai, thank you.
I've had confirmation it was live stream though, so perhaps what we'll do is I'll just ask if the staff can send you a link to that live stream for you to see. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much for spotting that. See, we are always on the ball. That was seconded by Councillor Temara Benfell, I believe. Yep, put that to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye.
Not having questions.
Any against? Thank you. That's carried.
There was no discussion or questions.
There was discussion. I opened up for discussion. We now move to confidential items to be released for the period August 2025 to December 2025. We will just take this report as read, and there were 4 items to be released.
Sorry, could I have the previous vote recorded against, please?
Sorry, Councillor, I did not see or hear you vote against at the time, and we have moved on to the next item, so we'll carry on. It has been carried regardless. So we are on page 49 now of our agenda. This one's quite simple. We'll take it as read. There are 4 items there. A tender approval contract for geothermal bores, outcome of expressions of interest for pensioner housing lease, Rotorua Housing Plan Progress Update, and appointment of hearings commissioners for plan changes from the period of August to December 2025. So I will move that. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wang, was there any discussion on this? It's just releasing items that have already been voted on and discussed. Thank you. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Any against? Thank you. That's carried. We will now take a short break, and when we get back, we will go into the confidential section. Thank you. Oh, sorry. If we can have 10 minutes. 10 minutes. We'll come back at 11:05. Thank you. much for that short break. We will reconvene. I will just ask that the live stream is put back on while I give the reasons why we're going to confidential. We'll just wait for that to come up. Thank you, everybody. We are back on live stream, and I will just confirm the items that we have coming up. So we have 3 items for consideration and public excluded. Those items are the confidential minutes, the night market future options, and the appointment of independent chair of Audit and Risk Committee. And do just note that there is a letter. I received it yesterday afternoon, so apologies for the delay. There is no decision required on it, though. It's more for informing, and that is, so I'll table that as a late item. I'll just table the letter with you, and that is deed funding to Rotorua Lakes strategy in respect of the Rotorua Lakes, and give our staff an opportunity to give you an update on that as well, which will require future decision of the Rotorua Lakes strategy group. So, I'll just finish. The reasons for going into confidential, the relevant clauses are withholding of information is necessary to protect information where the making available of the information would be likely unreasonably to prejudice the commercial position of the person who supplied or is who is subject of the information, necessary to enable council to carry out without prejudice or disadvantage commercial activities, and also in particular with the appointment of the independent chair, withholding of information is necessary to protect the privacy of natural persons, including that of deceased natural persons. I will just ask for a mover and a seconder, and then we'll check. So that's moved from Councillor Barker, seconded by Councillor Brown. Councillor Lee, there's something you wish to raise?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I can't say I feel entirely comfortable about the night market options going into confidential. Obviously, it's a matter of considerable public interest. It's not obvious to me how this Section 7.2 really applies to the night market consideration. I wonder if we could have some clarity on that.
Thank you. It's just because it is a tender, so there are a number of people who have tendered for this, and whatever the final outcome of that is will certainly be made public at the appropriate time. But I do note that the minutes relating to the item will not be made public because of the commercial nature of the tender. The public will certainly find out what's going to happen, and I do note it is of interest, and we hope to deal with that as soon as possible. Okay, so that has been moved and seconded. Can I put that to the vote? All those in favour, please say aye. Any against? Thank you. That's carried. And I do just note that we'll have a number of staff that will also join us, including online through this discussion. So we will now